Hey guys, welcome back. We spent plenty of time talking about how to start projects and keep them going, but what many people take for granted is the ability to complete a project. If you think about it, in the history of forever, basically, there have always been more projects started than there have been finished. According to one study, the most productive companies will finish about 90% of their projects, but the least productive might only finish about a third of them. There's a huge gap there, so what's important to understand is why projects fail, so you can ensure yours get done correctly and on time. So just off the top of your head, what are some reasons that a project might fail? Well, it's not really hard to come up with reasons because there are so many of them. For me personally, I've seen projects fail because people changed their priorities. They no longer wanted what the project would produce. I've seen them fail because the people who cared most about them left and the remaining team had other priorities. And projects have failed because of poor planning, too many changes, and the project manager couldn't keep anything together any longer. Ultimately, your goal as the project manager is to deliver what was promised in the original project plan. So at any point, if you're starting to wonder if you and your team are on the right path, review the original documents and plans. Especially with longer, more complex projects, it doesn't take much for teams to get derailed or to lose sight of the original goal. Use meetings and especially one-on-ones to regularly remind team members about their specific responsibilities and the exact deliverables they're expecting to produce. That should keep everyone on track. But the documents aren't your only source. Be sure to check in with your clients to validate your ideas during the project. Now, when I say clients, I mean the people that you're doing this project for, those who will use your app or the mobile device you're building. If you're designing a car seat for babies, you can't exactly test it yourself. Use testing, prototypes, and share samples with a small representative audience to let them try it out and give feedback. This will help you ensure what you're doing is really meeting the needs of the user and the goals of the project. And sometimes that validation can be really motivational. We spoke in an earlier lecture about how changes can impact a project midstream. They can be really disruptive and introduce risk. But aside from project changes, personnel changes should also be addressed immediately. If someone leaves the team, consider how to account for their absence. What responsibilities did they have? Could other teammates pick up their slack? Or do you need a replacement? Could you afford to wait to hire someone? If you're the project manager, you might need to consult with a more senior person to get answers about your budget, hiring, and changing the timeline of your project if necessary. And if you see people dragging a bit, well then remember those motivational techniques from a couple lectures ago. Sometimes people need recognition for their hard work, a gentle reminder of responsibilities, or just a kick in the ass. Use whatever motivation makes sense to get your team closer to the finish line. Now, once you've officially completed your project, your work really is not done. It's also important for teams to understand how well they did, especially if future projects are coming up. Many teams do a postmortem analysis and examine the project from a bunch of different angles. They'll usually look at, say, the overall process. How well designed was the project? What worked and what didn't? How many changes were needed to complete the project? They'll also look at the costs. How much did the project end up costing? In what ways did the project team spend more or less than expected? They'll also look at the final outcome. Did the project deliver what was asked? Was the quality as expected? How well did it match the designs and specifications laid out in the original documentation? They'll also look at the response. How was the project received by the affected users? Are they satisfied with what you delivered? And are they getting all the benefits that you anticipated? Also, think about future applications. Could this project be repeated? Could this project be scaled up to produce or accomplish more in the future? These answers can tell you how well you planned and executed your project, as well as provide lessons for future projects. Do this analysis every single time, especially if you encounter any failures along the way. Learn from your mistakes as well as your successes. All right, so in the next lecture, we're going to discuss a few different ways to approach project management, which could be affected by your goals or your industry. See you then.